not being in my own head and going as if through a portal into this other world.
One young lady in the 80s, when MTV was molding popular culture, was Susanna Hoffs. She became famous for her irreverent sideways gaze in the music video for Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles. Her charming personality, adorable pout, and disheveled locks made her an immediate sex icon, leaving little room for interpretation. Even at the age of 66, Susanna Hoffs continues to captivate both her longtime admirers and the younger generation with her limitless imagination and stunning good looks. Susanna has had a groundbreaking impact on her work. She did more than only work with legendary musicians. She also broke down barriers for women in rock. To find out what she's become, and if she's accomplished anything recently, you have to keep watching. The bright and brilliant metropolis of Los Angeles, California, was the site of Susanna Lee Hoffs's birth on January 17, 1959. She was born to Joshua Allen Hoffs, a psychotherapist, and Tamar Ruth, an actress, writer, and producer. John and Jesse are their sons, while Susanna is their lone daughter. Susanna described their house as an atheist, intellectual, and creative world because of all the interesting conversations and creative energy that would often take place there. She has a grandpa who was a rabbi in Chicago, her mother's side. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Susanna, when she was 12 years old, to visit her grandparents in Israel. Susanna Hoffs took up dance and guitar in primary school, with her uncle providing her with her first lessons. She received her bachelor's degree in art from the University of California, Berkeley, in 1980 after attending Palisades High School. She studied a wide range of creative forms: dance, theater, cinema, and more while at Berkeley. Susanna dabbled in acting and worked as a production assistant while she was a college student. Stony Island, written by her mother Tamar Simon Hoffs and directed by Andrew Davis, was her acting debut and was released in 1978. Dennis Franz, Ray Dawn Chong, and Richie Davis were all part of the ensemble. Some really amazing things happened to Susanna while she was a college student. She joined her pals at the Winterland Ballroom for 2 concerts, one by Patti Smith, and the last performance by Sex Pistols. Susanna Hoffs honed her electric guitar skills using a Gibson SG before heading off to college. However, the jangly, bright sound of a Rickenbacker guitar was what really drew her in. She also bought a Rickenbacker guitar from the 1960s with black and white checkered binding since she was influenced by the Byrds and the Beatles, who both played Rickenbacker guitars. When Susanna and the Bangles first started recording, she utilized this guitar, and she originally planned to get a Rickenbacker 325, but after making some tweaks that altered the playing experience, she changed her mind. The Bangles' All Over the Place album cover features Susanna with her Rickenbacker 325 VC63 guitar. Peter Mercer Taylor, a musicologist, observed that Susanna's Rickenbacker was a 6-string black and white instrument with 3 pickups and an unattached vibrato bar in its designated spot. Not long after its release in 1963, this guitar gained a reputation as John Lennon's preferred instrument. Mercer Taylor took this as a strong indication that the Bangles wanted to break new ground for female-fronted bands. Susanna Hoffs and her then-boyfriend David Roback, whom she knew from Palisades High School, formed a duet called the Psychiatrists in the late 1970s, while Hoffs was a student at UC Berkeley. They rebranded themselves as the Unconscious at a later date. Some people aren't sure if they played live or not. Susanna said in one version that their performances would be around 50 minutes long, which is comparable to the amount of time psychiatrists spend on the job. Susanna, however, stated something different in an interview she gave in 2012. She and David were in a band in Berkeley, but they never played live. It was at the Laird Movie Studio that she supposedly made her performing debut with the Bangles. Los Angeles's music culture was prepared for a radical shift in the early 1980s. At the time, Susanna Hoffs was making her debut in the business. She had recently graduated from UC Berkeley with an art degree and a passion for rock music from the 60s. It was her lifelong goal to form an all-female band. Susanna took a risk. Instead of going the conventional way of recruiting band members via personal connections or open auditions, she sent an ad to a local classifieds publication called The Recycler in the hopes of connecting with other ladies who shared her love of music. Vicki and Debbie Peterson were sisters who had previously performed music together, and her connection with them paid off her risk. Another origin myth for the Bangles has a different woman who was in a band with the Peterson sisters in the past. It just so happened that the Peterson sisters and this woman lived in the same house. Rather of reuniting with the initial bandmate-seeking woman, Susanna chose to work with the Petersons. They formed the band in the Brentwood garage of Susanna's parents, which was the beginning of their musical adventure. They started their musical journey in Susanna's parents' garage, which they had converted into an apartment. So, it served as their rehearsal place. A band called The Colors was founded by Susanna, Vicki, and Debbie. Later, the name was changed to The Bangs, supposedly as a light-hearted nod to a prominent haircut of the 1960s. Taking cues from groups like the Hollies and the Byrds, the foursome started honing their sound. The jangly guitars and memorable melodies in their music evoked the folk rock style of the 1960s. The distinctive lead vocals of Susanna Hoffs and the close harmonies of the Peterson sisters gave the band a distinctive sound that reflected their Southern Californian upbringing while also hearkening back to the 60s. The band became famous in Los Angeles very fast thanks to Susanna Hoffs on rhythm guitar and lead vocals, Vicki on lead guitar, Debbie on drums, and Annette Zielinskis on bass. Their energetic and nostalgic theatrical presence captivated a younger audience. The majority of their admirers were males who were captivated by Susanna's endearing features, her carefree demeanor, and her charming attitude. The Bangles became their new moniker in an effort to stay out of legal hot water. Miles Copeland, brother of Stuart Copeland of the Police, took notice of that. Furthermore, he established IRS records. The Bangles had a unique sound and a profound familiarity with the history of rock music that caught Miles's attention. His record company, Faulty Products, which is now a division of Columbia Records, signed them. Well, here we are at the most exciting part. All over the place was the Bangles' debut album, which came out in 1984. Reviews were very positive, with critics complimenting the band's vintage sound and the exceptional skill of its members. In America's underground music community, the record was considered a hit despite its lackluster sales. Although Susanna Hoffs utilized the Rickenbacker 325 on a few of the Bangles' tracks, she had a hard time tuning it and primarily reserved it for music videos. A borrowed Fender Telecaster served as her primary instrument for an extended period of time. In 1984 and 1985, she also performed live while strumming a Fender Stratocaster. With the release of Different Light in 1986, the Bangles catapulted to even greater popularity. This album was their big break into the pop music industry. Manic Monday, composed by the illustrious Prince, stood out as the album's most distinctive piece. The music video for this smash hit single featured the incomparable charisma and legendary flair of Susanna Hoffs. Among the most iconic moments of the whole decade was Susanna's mischievous sidelong gaze in the Walk Like an Egyptian music video. Her irresistible charm and youthful charisma captivated audiences worldwide. Some began to view Susanna as the band's spokesperson as the Bangles' success skyrocketed. Although every member of the band has immense skill, Susanna's stunning good looks and magnetic personality frequently stole the show, giving the impression that the label and media were trying to make her the focus of attention. For a while, at least, the Bangles were able to put their differences aside and enjoy their phenomenal success, even though they had long-standing conflicts inside the band. Album number 1, Everything, came out in 1988. For them, this record represented a turning point. Susanna Hoffs, Billy Steinberg, and Tom Kelly, the legendary songwriting duo, co-wrote the smash hits In Your Room and Eternal Flame, catapulting the Bangles to new heights of stardom. One steamy success, In Your Room, cracked the top 10, and another, Eternal Flame, became an international phenomenon, topping the charts in a number of nations. In the music video for Eternal Flame, Susanna almost did not leave anything to the imagination. It wasn't long after Everything came out that the Bangles became well known outside of the underground music scene. They were now well known all around the globe and had become household names. They had become pop sensations and were seemingly unstoppable in their rise to prominence. Can you recall the exact moment you heard their music for the first time? Susanna collaborated with Rickenbacker in 1988 and 1989 to create the Susanna Hoffs model of the Rickenbacker 550, which would become her hallmark instrument. Susanna received a Taylor K22 guitar during the breakup of the Bangles. Afterwards, she and Taylor worked together on guitars for the Susanna Hoffs signature series. Another instrument she enjoys is her 1966 12-string Guild Starfire, which has a bright and warm tone. Some of the songs on Doll Revolution, the Bangles album, use this instrument. Tensions inside the Bangles started to boil over while the group was enjoying unprecedented success with their 1988 album Everything and the singles In Your Room and Eternal Flame, which topped the charts. The fact that Susanna Hoffs felt like the band's public face and leader contributed to a lot of the friction. Susanna stood out due to her attractiveness and confidence in front of the camera, even though all 4 members contributed lead vocals. She frequently appeared in interviews and music videos. As a result of this inner turmoil and the relentless demands of traveling and attempting to build upon their enormous success, the Bangles broke up in 1989. Susanna Hoffs chose to try other forms of artistic expression after her band, the Bangles, broke up. She began her career in the entertainment industry by auditioning for roles in films such as 1987's The All-Nighter. Although Susanna's mother, Tamar Simon Hoffs's film, failed to become a box office smash, it did provide her with an acting opportunity. With 1991's When You're a Boy, Susanna released her first album as a solo artist. Although it had the top-charting single My Side of the Bed, the album was not as successful as her work with the Bangles. Even after releasing Susanna Hoffs in 1996, her subsequent album failed to meet her expectations. Susanna then chose to step away from the limelight for a little. Important events in Susanna's private life occurred during this interval. Jay Roach, a filmmaker, was her date on a blind date in 1991. Her life took a dramatic turn after this encounter. The 1993 wedding of Susanna Hoffs and Jay Roach was marked by an immediate and profound connection between the two. This allowed Susanna to return to her birthplace of Los Angeles and make it her permanent home. She came from a family of filmmakers and psychoanalysts. Jackson and Sam were born to Susanna and Jay in the middle of the 19th century. Susanna continued to pursue her creative interests even as she embraced her responsibilities as a wife and mother. She collaborated with Mike Myers and Matthew Sweet to establish the band Ming T, among her other endeavors. They were in all 3 Austin Powers films and had a great 60s-influenced sound. In addition to her work with Lilith Fair, Rufus Wainwright, and Travis, Susanna began penning songs for other artists and contributing her distinctive voice to their albums. While spending time with her family, Jay, their 2 boys, and her various artistic endeavors, she managed to keep herself quite occupied. Susanna Hoffs was faced with a decision at the end of the 1990s. Even while her solo work was passionate and innovative, it hadn't been as commercially successful as her time with the Bangles. Simultaneously, Her private life was changing as she became a mother and married to filmmaker Jay Roach. She kept busy with other endeavors, but nothing could ever replace the singularity of her time with the Bangles. Suddenly, a chance presented itself. Her husband, Jay Roach, had the brilliant idea of reuniting the Bangles to record a new song for the 1999 sequel to his smash movie Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. On a professional and personal level, he was aware of the band's significance to Susanna. Something about Jay's idea stirred up a mix of longing and optimism within her. With enthusiasm, Susanna contacted Michael Steele, Vicki Peterson, and Debbie Peterson, all of whom had been in her band in the past. They were all really excited about it, which made her very happy. When the band got back together in the studio to record Get the Girl, chemistry was instantaneous. They hadn't lost their musical chemistry, despite all the time apart. It was a really satisfying, stimulating, and effortless experience. The Bangles were still a unique group, and that much was obvious to everyone. The band was so encouraged by this success that they made their reunion official. To the delight of their devoted fan base, they got to work on new music and planned concerts. The Bangles' journey entered a new chapter, one that would be shaped by maturity, respect for one another, and a revitalized drive for creativity. The Bangles' return to the stage after a lengthy separation was an exhilarating and intimidating prospect. They were hell-bent on learning from their previous errors this time around. In the 80s, when they were at the top of their game, there were growing disputes inside the group over who got to direct the group's creative efforts and how much attention Susanna Hoffs received, even when she didn't want to. The band came back with a more level-headed and collaborative attitude, having learned from their mistakes and building on their common past. Rebranding themselves was an intentional goal of the Bangles. They made it clear that they were an equal status group rather than showcasing any one lead singer. Decisions were made as a group, and members would take turns singing lead vocals. Susanna remained a public figure because to her legendary reputation and classic good looks, but she drew back from the limelight a bit to make sure the band was united. Thanks to this revitalized dynamic, the band was able to mend fences and show the world a unified face. The Bangles' 2003 album Doll Revolution was their first after their reunion. The album's modern twist on the band's signature jangly guitar sound and timeless harmonies earned high marks from critics. It demonstrated that the Bangles weren't only riding a wave of nostalgia, they were actually progressing. After the record came out, they went on a successful tour that included performances by other iconic bands from the 80s, such the Psychedelic Furs. Their continued success in 2011 with the publication of Sweetheart of the Sun was another evidence of their enduring popularity. Their comeback as a band with significant fresh contributions to offer was cemented by these endeavors, which went beyond merely a reunion performance. As the 2000s progressed into the 2010s and beyond, Susanna Hoffs had a period of creative rejuvenation. She kept recording and touring with the Bangles, but she also dabbled in solo ventures that showcased her flexibility. Working with musician Matthew Sweet was one of her projects in this area. Their collaborative effort was the Under the Covers series, which consisted of 3 CDs that covered popular music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Her extensive vocal range and profound appreciation for rock history were on full display in these cover songs. As a heartfelt homage to Prince, an artist she really respected, she sang Nothing Compares to You at his 2020 Grammy celebration. In the 20s and 30s, she kept busy with solo albums that brought her powerful voice and profound emotions back to audiences, such as Bright Lights, 2021, and The Deep End, 2023. Her cultural significance, meanwhile, continued to grow. She decided to try her hand at novel writing in 2023. Universal Pictures wasted no time adapting her best-selling romantic comedy first novel, This Bird Has Flown, into a picture. At the age of 66, Susanna Hoffs is still going strong. She shot to fame after appearing on TikTok, where videos of her trademark sideways look from Walk Like an Egyptian went viral, amassing millions of views. For today's youth, she embodies the perfect storm of 80s style, classic elegance, and irreplaceable skill. The Bangles' induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is one of the few achievements she has yet to achieve. Both their legion of fans and their detractors feel that the groundbreaking all-female band has been waiting far too long for this kind of acknowledgement for the impact they had. Manic Monday, Eternal Flame, and In Your Room are just a few of the band's smash successes, and Susanna Hoffs was unquestionably their creative power. Susanna Hoffs has been an inspiration through thick and thin, representing dignity, perseverance, and creativity at its finest. She has another book in the works and is also hard at work on new songs. Her incredible journey from fronting a legendary all-female band in the 80s to writing novels and performing solo proves that change is inevitable and may have a profound impact. Susanna Hoffs has established herself as a legendary musician regardless of whether she is ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not only did the Bangles revolutionize the music business with their infectious melodies and harmony, but they also had a significant impact on the aesthetics of the 80s. Their daring style choices and distinctive aesthetics left an everlasting impression on the music video genre and the pop culture of the day, helping to make their music videos as famous as their singles. The group paved the way for subsequent generations of musicians by successfully fusing entertaining, high-energy visuals with their own musical style in music videos from the 1980s. Walk Like an Egyptian, a music video by the Bangles that premiered in 1986 and quickly became a cultural touchstone, is one of the band's most iconic works. The video is a visual extravaganza a la the 1980s, with its bright costumes, wacky dance moves, and eye-popping sets. The video's light-hearted vibe mirrored the energetic songs as the band members, decked out in fashionable and unconventional attire, performed in innovative and unique backdrops. Contributing to the video's popularity was its knack for encapsulating the carefree vibe of the song and solidifying the band's visual identity. Many people consider the outfits in Walk Like an Egyptian to be the epitome of 1980s fashion. The band's style was both approachable and attainable for fans because to their use of bright patterns, loose cuts, and quirky accessories. The era's penchant for wildly contrasting forms and colors was something they wholeheartedly embraced. Among the numerous young ladies who looked up to Susanna Hoffs, her distinctive black bangs and glitzy, carefree style became icons. The Bangles' style was unmistakably bohemian and laid back, in contrast to the glitz and glamour of other 80s pop groups. In 1989, after the success of Walk Like an Egyptian, the Bangles released a music video for Eternal Flame that focused more on intimacy and elegance, showcasing a distinct aspect of the band. The band members wore lovely, loose garments in the film, which had a gentler, more romantic visual flair. The pastel-hued backdrop and spare aesthetic of the music video gave the track a sophisticated vibe that went well with the song's profound feelings. The contrast between the upbeat and carefree Walk Like an Egyptian and the somber and reflective Eternal Flame showcased the Bangles' ability to work in both the visual and musical realms. The Bangles' music videos had an impact on 80s fashion trends thanks to their clever and funky combinations, which were popular with both music lovers and pop culture at large. A hallmark of their style was the way they combined more formal and informal pieces in their outfits. Examples include wearing skirts with leather jackets or graphic t-shirts accessorized with other pieces. One of its appealing qualities was the way they could elevate even the most casual attire to a fashionable level. A generation of young people worldwide welcomed their easy cool, which they achieved by making 80s fashion feel both accessible and stylish. In addition to the aesthetics of their music videos, the Bangles exhibited a more generalized sense of visual style. The band's distinctive style was defined by their hairstyle, accessories, and cosmetics. Their impeccable hairstyles, dramatic eye makeup, and flamboyant jewelry choices helped shape the aesthetic of pop music in the 1980s. Bold eyeliner, crimped hair, and clothing that included both vintage and modern accessories were commonplace traits among them. Many people currently credit the Bangles with popularizing a certain type of clothing and music video. In the 1980s, music videos played a significant role in establishing a band's reputation. The Bangles were a pioneer in this regard. Their groundbreaking work in fusing visual narrative with music and fashion has set a new standard in pop culture and continues to influence designers, artists, and fans. Beyond their time in the spotlight, the Bangles had an influence on video aesthetics and 80s fashion. With the resurgence of 80s fashion in recent years, the Bangles' distinctive sound is still very much in vogue. Musicians and fans alike can't help but be influenced by the daring, energetic, and innovative pop culture of the 1980s, which is visually represented in the band's music videos and style choices. One of their most lasting legacies is the aesthetics of music videos and the fashion of the 1980s, which solidified their status as icons of both music and style. Susanna Hoffs may have broken new ground as lead singer of the Bangles, but her talent and imagination go much beyond that. The breadth of Hoffs' artistic pursuits, which include acting, writing, and even philanthropy, is equal to the breadth of her impact in the music industry. She has proven herself to be an incredibly versatile artist by her openness to trying new things, taking on new personas, and making a difference. Acting was one of Susanna Hoffs' early ambitions before she became famous as the lead singer of the Bangles. While her primary concentration was on her music profession, she did dabble with acting for a while, which enriched her creative experience. The Big Picture, an adolescent drama from the 80s, was one of several TV episodes and movies in which Hoffs appeared. Her acting career may not have been as successful as her music career, but it gave her a fresh take on the entertainment industry. Her early acting training would serve her well as she continued to perform music, honing her voice and stage presence to captivate listeners. Moving into fiction writing was probably the most unexpected and thrilling turn of events in Susanna Hoffs' career. A romantic comedy that showcases her keen wit and profound grasp of relationships, This Bird Has Flown, was her first novel, published in 2023. A lot of people who like Hoffs' work may relate to the story's themes of a woman dealing with love, grief, and finding herself. Hoffs found that writing allowed her to express herself creatively. She has always been a gifted storyteller. Her songs often include storylines that allow her listeners to imagine themselves in her songs and think on the situations she describes. She was able to expand upon this kind of narrative in This Bird Has Flown, finding a fresh outlet for her sharp mind and insightful observations. As she sought other forms of expression outside music, the choice to write a book was a personal and creative development. This Bird Has Flown was an immediate hit with readers and critics alike, because, to its captivating story and likable protagonists, people were drawn to Hoffs because of her genuine voice, which offered a familiar yet new perspective on love and life. Both Hoffs' literary abilities and the prospect of future endeavors were piqued by the book's release. Universal Pictures swiftly bought the picture rights to This Bird Has Flown, further establishing her as a creative powerhouse outside her musical legacy. There will be no let-up in Susanna Hoffs' prolific writing career after the triumph of her debut novel. Fans are wondering what's next, as she has dropped hints about potential literary projects. She is in a unique position to explore a wide range of genres and subjects, thanks to her background as a musician and her deep emotional perception. Fans are hoping for additional novels from Hoffs, but she could branch out into memoirs or screenplays as well. Her writing reflects the many facets of her existence. Her songs have always been tales, but now that she's a writer, she can explore the human condition even further. In her literary career, Hoffs will certainly continue to draw an even larger audience thanks to her unique talent for weaving together comedic, tragic, and hopeful elements in a seamless story. Susanna Hoffs has been quite engaged in humanitarian and charity initiatives alongside her artistic endeavors. Although she has kept a quiet profile when it comes to her philanthropic activities, she has been a strong advocate for many topics pertaining to mental health, women's rights, and education. In her public speeches, Hoffs has emphasized the significance of women standing up for equality, empowering one another, and fostering an environment where female artists and musicians of the future may thrive. She is conscious of the influence her voice has beyond the music industry and has utilized it to bring attention to social issues. Her commitment in charity endeavors demonstrates that Hoffs' impact goes beyond entertainment and into constructive social change, and she continues to inspire people via this. Besides being a beloved 80s pop star, Susanna Hoffs has proven herself to be an accomplished actress, writer, and philanthropist. By forging her own unique creative path, she has demonstrated that her ability and vision have no bounds. Hoffs has left an enduring legacy as an artist in every sense of the word, inspiring and entertaining via her donations to humanitarian organizations, her continuous musical pursuits, and her engaging novel, This Bird Has Flown. Her legions of admirers are left to speculate about how Hoffs will keep expressing herself in the future. There is no way to predict the path her creativity will follow next. Her artistic journey is one of progress. Without a doubt, Susanna Hoffs' influence on society, as a result of her musical career, books, and charitable work, will reverberate for decades to come. Is the icon someone whose music you can still hear and remember? Leave a comment with the name of your favorite album and song. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this movie and wish you a good time. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button if you did. Looking forward to seeing you in the upcoming segment.